Hi everyone, we are a AsyncWorking team. I'm Snow, I'm a dev of our team.
Hi, I'm Steven. I'm also a developer of our team.
I'm Ivy. I'm DevOps of our team.
In this presentation, we will focus on 5 contents. They are team and project introduction, UI refactor, JWT implement, other functionality development, and CI/CD pipeline. Since our project has already in the development stage before we join the team, so in this presentation, we only focus on our own development content. Okay, let's start. First, let me introduce our team. Our team consists of 13 people, include 9 developers, 1 UI UX designer, 2 DevOps, and 1 BA. And the AsyncWorking is a project management service for small and medium-sized enterprise who want to increase productivity at workplace. Our product is minimal and light. It provides just enough features to allow team to work asynchronously and increase productivity. And next is the main development content of our 2 recent sprints. The first one is UI refactor, and the second one is JWT section. Since the new designer joined to our team, we carry out a great iteration of our UI page redesign, and the iteration is still in the process. So far, 2 pages have been finished. First one is a login page. The following picture shows that what it looks like before and after the iteration. This one is before and this one is now what it looks like. Second one is a sign up page like this. These 2 pages are developed by other teammates. And next, I will introduce the development content of ourselves. The most important thing is that Steven Fonglan, who is another teammate, and I developed the JWT section. These are our development process. Firstly, we design the sequence diagrams and the flowcharts of JWT function according to some research on the internet. And this helps us understand the basic principles of JWT. Then we turn to JWT authentication and authorization implement. My main responsibility is JWT front-end implementation, and Steven and Fongnan are mainly responsible for the backend. This is what the JWT sequence diagram and the flowchart look like. Next, let's talk about the front-end part. First is the authorization part. This part mainly deals with the feedback of our user login, user logout, and the JWT expiration. When user login successfully, the backend will return a JWT token to the front end, and the front end task is to store the JWT token in the local storage. And then when the front end send a request to the backend, the token will be picked up from the local storage and be attached in the request header. And then it will be sent to the backend. When the user log out, the content of the local storage will be deleted. And at the same time, the page will jump to the login page. And this is our code like this. And in addition, when the front end detects that the backend send a response with expired JWT, and the local storage will be cleared as well. And at the same time, the page will jump to the login page as well, and the user need to log in again. And next is the authorization part. This part includes designing an authority table, deal with UI, front-end UI response, and creates no permission page for invalid visits. Firstly, our team designed a user authority table like this. Then I implement different UI views based on different authority information in the JWT token. So for the example, if user has the authority to modify the company information, the button here is clickable. If not, the button cannot be clicked. For the company owner, he can only view the projects in the company. He can view all the projects in the company, but other company member can only view the project that he belongs to. This is two different views for company owner and company members. In addition, our team has designed a no permission page for users without permission access. And this page is developed by another teammate. And next, Steven will introduce the Jwt Backend part.
Hello, I'm Steven, and I'm going to introduce the back part of Jwt authentication and authorization. And I'm mainly responsible for the authorization part, and I'm also responsible part of the authentication. And now let's start with the authentication part. To achieve the authentication function, we use Spring Security and add two filters. The first filter is used for login authentication. We called it username password authentication filter. And this is the sequence diagram of the filter. The filter will only intercept the login request. It is mainly responsible for verifying the password and generating the Jwt tokens. Be attention that in Spring Security, after finishing the authentication, we always return instance of authentication this part. And according official definition of the authentication, it represents a token that records both authentication information and authorization information. And we use this token, this authentication, to generate our Jwt token here. And this is the second filter, Jwt Verify Filter. As its name indicates, this filter is mainly responsible for verifying if the Jwt token is valid. As I mentioned, authentication will be an authentication instance is created after finishing this checking, but this instance will be used for access control in the filter security interceptor, and we will see this authentication again soon. And from this slide, I'm going to introduce the authorization part. I chose to use role-based access control in our application. Thus, I add role table and user role table. Currently, we only have company manager and project manager who have privilege. And there are two layers of logic in our application's access control. The first layer is to prevent user from accessing resource of company or project that they do not belong to. I implement this part based on the parse variables like this company ID or project ID and Spring expression language, which is these things. You can see that I invoked a method in a string. Yeah, this is Spring expression language. And apart from the parse variable here, you can see all our method will also receive parameters called authentication. And this is exactly the authentication I mentioned in the Jwt Verify Filter. This guy now is here for authorization. And now you may be curious about what is exactly in this authentication because it's a token, it has some information. Because I am checking so many things here, do these checks need to curate the database? The answer is no. To reduce database query, I try to assemble info as much as I can into the authentication instance, like here. And the info here is all from the Jwt token. You can see I get from Jwt token, from Jwt token, from Jwt token. So therefore, what I put in Jwt token is pretty much depending on what authorization means. And the second layer of access control is to determine if the user has privilege to access a specific API. For example, our application only allow company manager to update our company profile. What I need to do is to add an annotation here, pre-authorized. As you can see, the content of the annotation is a string. So that's why we called it as expression-based access control. The has permission method here is an overridden method. This method requires two parameters. The first one is target ID. In this case, it's just a company ID. And the second one is the role name, company manager here. And finally, we assign roles to the previously registered users by using a flyway to achieve the data migration. And that's all for the authorization part. Now I will introduce some other functionality development we finished. I finished create a message with description. The description is here and here and here. And that's all my contributions in this 2 months. And Snow will introduce her contribution.
Okay. During these 2 months, I also implement some other functionality development. For example, I implement our forget password page like this. And also I added the feature of selecting due date when creating a new to-do item. And I complement the feature of choosing message category when creating a new message. And in addition, I implement the feature of selecting subscribers when creating a new message. And this above is my personal contribution in the team. Thanks. And then Abby will introduce email service deployment.
Okay, hello everyone, I'm Abby, and I'm going to introduce email service deployment. This scenario happens when user trying to sign up on our website. When they want to sign up, they are asked to provide an email. At this time, ECS will send a message to AWS SQS. Then SQS will trigger a Lambda function. The Lambda function can do a lot of things for us. The first step, it will get email template, which we stored in S3 bucket previously, and fill the template with the email address of the user. Then we use the AWS SES service to send the email to users. In the meanwhile, Lambda also send a message to SQS, asking SQS to update the status of the data and backend in the ECS. This is how email service deployed. Next page. And the next part is Csd Pipeline. First, in our project, we choose Aws Code Pipeline as our Csd tool. It builds and deploys code every time whenever there's a code change in GitHub. The process and the function are same as Jenkins and other Csd tools. As this is a front-end and separate project. Meanwhile, we also have UAT and the production environment. So we had created 3 Csd pipeline in total in AWS. For the backend, we have 2 pipelines. They are created for UAT environment and the production environment respectively. And for the front end, we create 1 pipeline for it. Both build, deploy stage of UAT and the production environment are in this pipeline. So in total, we have 3. Next page. Next page. Oh. In this page, I want to explain how we build and deploy the front end in AWS. Initially, we get code from GitHub, and then we build the code in AWS code build. In this process, we use build spec YAML file to run build commands. The build spec YAML file is a collection of build commands and related settings in YAML format, which is similar to Jenkins file. And after build, we deploy it to AWS S3 bucket. Okay, next page. This is the pipeline for the front end. On the left side, the build and the deploys are for UAT environment. And after we deploy it to the S3 bucket, we set a manually approval stage, as it's shown in the middle. This stage is for review the UAT environment. When the process of pipeline come to this stage, developers need to review UAT website. And if there's no problem with it, we can click manually approve button, and it will approve to deploy to the production environment on the right side. Yeah, the next page. And this build and deploy for the backend. For the backend, the Csd process is quite different. We get code from GitHub and build it depend on build spec the YAML file, but in the build process, we we dockerize it first, depend on the Docker file, and then we push the Docker image to the AWS ECR. It's like a Docker hub, and can store Docker images. In this example, we have two repos for UAT, one for UAT and another for the production production image. And we use AWS Fargate to deploy our service. AWS Fargate, we use AWS Fargate to deploy our service, and we pull the image from AWS CR and run it in the container. So this is how we build and deploy our backend. And this is also the end of our presentation. So if anyone have questions, please don't hesitate to ask us.
行谢谢 AsyncWorking 的演讲。然后大家有什么问题吗？对刚才所有的一些问题，你们可以先提问。刚才那些 Fargate 你们听懂了吗？就没有问题吗 ？Fargate 你们听懂了？
你好，我有一个问题，就是我能不能看一下这个网站是什么样子？就因为你讲了这么多，我不知道你们这个确实就是实现了很多功能，但是我不知道这个功能是什么样的。
可以。那董元林，你到生产环境那边看一下，直接。这是本地也行。
对，你可以讲一下，就是你们这在操作什么东西
？OK， 我大概说一下，刚刚是登录界面，登录之后你可以，这里是你的公司板块，然后你在这里可以加一些人，然后并且你可以在这里对你的公司描述进行一些描述上修改。然后我刚刚做的操作是添加一个 project， 然后这个 project 是你可以看到 project 目前我们完成的模块是 message 和 to do， 然后我们之前我和 Snow 主要做的就是message 这部分的工作。你可以看到这个 category 是 Snow 做的，然后这部分是我写的，你可以看一下。然后包括还可以这个通知 project 内的其他人员，因为我们这个 project 暂时没有邀请人所以现在还没有人可以被通知，但这个功能已经都实现了。然后再发送这个请求，然后这一部分是 Snow 实现的，然后这也是 Snow 实现的，然后这一部分是我实现的。然后你可以看到我们回到message board， 然后再可以看到回到这里，这里都会有一个简短的介绍然后之前应该还展示了一下就是 sign up 的阶段，然后可以看 sign up， 然后 sign up 的话就随便打一下这个邮箱。然后随便设置一个密码，哎呀，这个还怪麻烦的。等一下，我随便写一个。 这里，然后我们在这一部分之后对，你就可以 login 了。然后我们其实我们的email 还没有就是 merge 到 master 来，所以现在暂时还没有发邮件的功能所以暂时还需要去数据库才能做这些事情。然后你还想看什么其他的操作吗？